Welcome back, Wildcat Nation, to another year of Wildcat Week. This year's host will be myself, Abby Harvey, and new host, Isaac Wolf. And we're super excited for all the new and fun things we have coming your way this year. It's only fitting that we start off season 6 with last year's undefeated national champions, the IWU Volleyball team. And tonight we're joined by junior libero Cadee and junior middle Marissa Mullins.
Nodder has led the team in aces the past 2 seasons and has been a key defender for the Wildcats, and Mullins was named an All-Crossroads League honorable mention last season in her first year at IWU after transferring from the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, and was recently named Crossroads League Defender of the Week. Both played a huge role in the Wildcats' success last season, where they went 38-0 and won the program's first national championship. They are off to a 9-2 start this year and are currently ranked 7th in the NAIA Coaches Top 25 poll.
I'm Isaac Wolf with your Crossroads League Week in Review. It's the start of another great year of sports throughout the conference, and we start in volleyball, where the reigning national champion Indiana Wesleyan Wildcats look to defend their title this season in quest of a back-to-back. Their record sits at 8-2 through their first 10 games. The Wildcats swept the season opener against number 6 Midland, then dropped their first game since November of 2022 the next day versus number 16 IU Kokomo, who they defeated in 5 sets in last year's national tournament. After 2 more sweeps, followed by a loss to number 4 Concordia University of Nebraska in 5 sets, the Wildcats have rattled off 5 straight wins, including a sweep of number 21 Grace, ahead of their home matchup today against Spring Arbor, where they will be revealing the national championship banner in Lucky Arena before the game. Number 22 Mount Vernon Nazarene is off to a hot start at 13-0, losing just 3 sets so far in those 13 games combined. Most recently, the Cougars played their toughest matchup of the season in Bethel and came away with the win in 5 sets. Junior Reagan Nuss had 51 assists, and sophomore Libby Evanshine had 20 kills to lead the way for Mount Vernon. For Bethel, 5th-year senior Maddie Payne became the school's all-time leader in career blocks with 688, passing Jackie Tepp, who previously held the record with 687. Tepp played at Bethel from 1991 to 1994. Number 24 Marion is 10-1 to begin this season after a 4-set win at Spring Arbor on Wednesday. Notable wins for the Knights include a 5-set win against IU East, a sweep of Loyola University of Louisiana, and a 5-set win against number 7 Columbia College. Their lone loss of the season came in 4 sets to Aquinas College of Michigan. In men's soccer, the number 5 ranked Bethel Pilots are coming off a top 25 win against number 21 Rio Grande 2-1. Piero Sabroso and Manuel Garcia each scored goals for the Pilots, who are 3-0-2 after 5 games, 3 of which were ranked matchups. Number 13 Grace has struggled so far, posting a record of 0-3-1, their one tie coming in their first game of the season against William Woods. The Lancers have had a daunting schedule to start the season, falling to 3 top 15 teams. It doesn't get any easier for them today, as they are in the middle of a match at number 9 Indiana Tech right now. Number 15 Indiana Wesleyan has had the complete opposite start to their season, as they are undefeated at 5-0 heading into today's matchup against number 21 Rio Grande. The Wildcats scored 20 goals across their first 2 games before taking down back-to-back ranked opponents in number 9 Indiana Tech on the road and last year's national champs, Mid-America Nazarene. Their most recent win came on Tuesday at the University of Northwestern Ohio, 3-1. The trio of Guzman Trigo, Giuseppe Santa Croce, and Yara Carnegie each scored a goal in the winning effort. Carnegie leads the team in goals with 5. In women's soccer, number 7 Spring Arbor has won 2 of their first 3 games of the season, their lone loss coming to Embry-Riddle of Arizona, 1-0. Number 15 Indiana Wesleyan is 3-1 heading into their matchup at number 1 ranked Cumberlands of Kentucky, and number 17 Marion is 4-1 as they head on the road to University of Northwestern Ohio. That's all for this week with your Crossroads League Week in Review. I'm Isaac Wolf.
First of all, reflect on last season, everything that went into it, how it all came together, and how you got it done.
Yeah, last season was super fun. The word that comes to my mind is just joy, and like team, because I think the reason we won last year is just because of how close we were and just the community we had on the team and just our foundation of like Christ. So the first word that comes to my mind is just joy, because it was so fun and just filled with joy.
Mm-hmm. And building on that, like I think we just had such a strong culture and we just loved hanging out together off the court.
Mm-hmm.
You guys faced little resistance the entire regular season. You had 27 sweeps, and then once you got to the national tournament, 2 of your games went to 5 sets, so that was a little bit different. How did you handle the adversity being down 2-1 against IU Kokomo and then Northwestern in the national championship?
I think it was definitely hard just because we didn't play a 5-setter all year long, but I think just working together and just uplifting each other throughout the set, and Coach Muntz talked about it.
Yeah, to build off that, like I think it definitely was just each other, all of us bringing each other together. I think it goes to show like how hard we would practice too. Like even though we didn't necessarily face like a 5-set match in regular season, like we would practice like we would.
When the last point was done, describe the feeling that you guys felt winning the national championship.
Honestly, it was just a relief. Like being in that situation, it was just super like nerve-wracking. And at that moment, I just like decided I'm just gonna soak this all in because like I don't need to be nervous anymore. Like this is what we've worked so hard for, and like it was so fun. And just watching the confetti fall too, and like getting to like dive in it, it was just really fun. And yeah.
And I think it just showed like how all of our hard work paid off. And I remember, so we had Chad Busick. He came in a couple times during this season, and he just talked about team building activities and stuff like that. And the morning of the national championship, we like reenacted of like what the final point was going to be like. So me and Ava, we were up there, and we were just like, oh, this is it. And it was like point 14, so it was really cool. So.
You guys had a decent crowd out there in Iowa, but when you came back to campus, what was it like to share that moment with all the students coming off the bus?
Yeah, that was super fun. I remember someone texting us and they're like, no one's here. Like, there's like 10 people here. It's too late. And then we pulled up and there were so many people there cheering with like signs. And it was just so fun coming off the bus and just seeing all the support, because when we were there, it was basically all Northwestern fans minus like our parents and family. So it was just really nice to see the support we had back at the school.
Mm-hmm. And like in Iowa, when we were there, it was like Cadee said, it was just like our family and stuff. And like compared to the Northwestern crowd, it was like so tiny. But then when we came back, it was just so crazy how many people were supporting us.
How did you guys handle that crowd? Because it was, I mean, Northwestern was really close to where the national championship game was played. So how did you guys handle that environment?
I think we kind of used it to our advantage. Like every time we were on their side, like with the student section behind us, we won. So I think we were kind of using it to fire us up and like fuel us in a way.
Yeah, and I think we play better in like louder environments. So I think they brought a lot of energy and it just kind of pumped us up and made us work harder and be louder.
So transitioning to this year, what did the off season for the national champions look like?
The off season, we worked really hard this off season. In the spring, like we would practice, I think 3 times a week. And we would spend one day even just like playing. And I think it just helped us like build some resilience just coming into this fall. And then obviously we come back a month early for preseason. So that too, like we just try and build and be the best at getting best. So
you guys come in this season, preseason number 1, there's a lot of expectations, and for the first time in 39 games, you lose a game. So what was that like after not losing the entire season last year?
I think after we lost, like, I don't know, I wasn't very like sad or upset about it. I think like, I mean, we were ranked number 1 preseason polls. We were still undefeated from last season. So I feel like it was just a lot of pressure at playing our best, being our best. And we started so early this season. So I feel like there was just so much pressure. So I feel like after we lost, we we're like, we got it out of the way. We can just play free and try to play.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is, did that loss release, the pressure of keeping the streak alive and that expectation?
For sure. I think, I mean, it sucks that it had to be against IUK just because we did beat them at nationals, but I agree with Rose. It definitely takes off a lot of pressure, and I think we can definitely play a lot more free this year, knowing that like we don't have to be perfect. We just have to win the games that we need to win.
With that being said, you still feel like you guys are playing with a target on your back?
Yeah, I think so for sure, because we were national champs from last year, so I feel like we do have a huge target on our back, but it's also kind of cool because we'll get everyone's best, so we can just play to our best.
So how has this season been so far? You have a lot of returning pieces, but also a lot of new pieces in the rotation. So how's that going?
I think it's going great. It's been a really fun year so far. I think every new player has just added so much to our team, and our team culture is still very similar. We still have so much joy and just love for each other. So it's been fun just getting to invite some new people on our team.
So now you guys are getting into conference play with the exception of your weekend at Indiana Tech in a few weeks. So what's the difference in preparing for a conference matchup with a team you're more familiar with versus some of the teams you faced to start the season?
Our practices leading up to our games are just very specific to the teams we're going to play. So it's kind of fun, like getting to practice like specific things. Like we'll have one side be the other team, and we get to be ourselves and like find ways to score points and watch film. And we prepare just specifically for the teams in our conference because we know we're going to play them twice, and they're going to be after us too because we won the conference last year. So,
and I think it is a little more familiar playing against those teams because we know a lot about their players from last year, and like playing these new teams like Concordia and Midland, like we just had to like re-scout and like or just scout. I don't know if that makes sense. We just have to scout from the beginning and learn about their whole roster.
So now we're going to take a little bit step back to how volleyball started for both of you. So how did you guys get into it?
For me, I have an older sister. She actually played volleyball at Spring Arbor, but she kind of introduced me to volleyball. She started playing club when I was like in 3rd grade, and she would be like, come pepper with me in the back. So I would go back. She would just hit at me as hard as she could. And I was like, okay, I kind of like this. So then in 5th grade, I started playing, and then I took it seriously in like 8th grade. So just from then on, I've played volleyball. It's the only sport I've ever played, and I love it.
I grew up playing basketball, soccer, softball, everything but volleyball. And then my best friend, she's like, oh, let's go and play volleyball instead of soccer. And I was like, maybe not, but she talked me into it. So 6th grade, we tried out for the volleyball team, and that's just history. So here we are.
So talk a little bit about the decision-making that you guys wanted to play college volleyball.
For me, it was kind of easy, like playing club volleyball. You just spend so much time around the sport, and everyone around you is like, oh, where are you going to college? Where are you going to college? So just for me, it was just the community I had around me. It was just always a competitive nature, and like our next goal was college. So for me, it was just kind of an easy decision.
I feel the same way. I just had people supporting me, and they were just like, you should go play volleyball at the collegiate level. So I think it was just people around me supporting me and pushing me to take the next step.
So more specifically, how did you guys end up at IWU, and then Marissa, kind of the transfer process, I guess?
For me, like everyone's journey is different, but mine was just super straightforward. Like I just felt the Lord calling me to come here. Like I had talked to a couple other schools, but not super seriously. Really, the only school I talked to seriously was here, and I was like, nope, this is where I need to go. So for me, it was kind of a straightforward path. But
So my freshman year, I went to the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, and I was about 12 hours from home. So I don't know, just the culture there and the environment, and the volleyball team wasn't the strongest, but I got a lot of playing time, so that's always a plus. So it made it a little easier going into the transfer portal and like having stats to kind of help guide me into the next school. And then Candace, she reached out to me, and there was a couple other schools on my radar, but I just kind of prayed about it, and then the next day she kind of sent me a text about my scholarship and stuff, and I just like took that as a sign. So yeah.
So transitioning a little bit to off the court things, what are things you guys do as a team to grow spiritually?
This preseason, we really focused on just like devotionals, and like we would do them in the morning. We would only practice once a day, which I feel like is really not normal for teams because we really wanted to focus on like our culture and just like the spiritual temperature of our team. For me personally, I really like to pray for my teammates. I think that's super powerful, and there's power in prayer and just praying for specific teammates for specific things. So
Yeah, and during the summer, we split off into families. So we had our little family groups, and we just kind of reached out to each other before coming into the preseason and just kind of prayed for each other, asked each other questions and stuff like that. And then we also started doing prayer cards for other teams before games. So I think that's a cool way to just come together.
So you guys talked about, or at least Cadee talked about the word joy. Is there like a word for this year that you guys are kind of focusing on?
yeah, I think the word that comes to mind is family. You can see Marissa's shirt. It kind of became an inside joke last spring, but I think it's really like true for our team. Like we just want to be family, and we want to be close and be there for each other. And like we've been talking about, like pray for each other, and ultimately like it's not about volleyball. It's about like our relationships with each other and with God. And I think family is just a good word.
How do your guys' spiritual just life and your relationship with Christ translate to your success on the court?
For me, I think just a huge thing is just knowing that you're playing for Christ, like knowing that it's not about yourself or your own success, but it's ultimately about like how can I show others the love of Christ. I think that's huge for me, and just knowing that like this isn't for me but for my teammates, and God gave me these gifts to ultimately glorify Him. So the way I can do that best is to play to my full potential.
Yeah, I agree with Cadee, and then I also think just having joy off the court, just having a relationship with the Lord just carries on to the volleyball court, and just having joy for your teammates and uplifting them and pushing them towards Christ.
So two like kind of fun questions. What is one silly thing you guys do as a team kind of before a game?
Okay, so last year, Marta Zambetti, she was here, and before every game we would do Mubalaklitas, so it was just a little dance, and we asked her if we could just carry on the tradition this year, so we're still doing it, so it's really cool.
Do you have any words about your pickle?
Oh yeah, that's funny too. So Cassie, who also graduated last year, her brother goes to some school, I think in South Carolina or something, and their mascot's a pickle, so she just decided to bring a little pickle stuffed animal. And we just kept it and we held it on the bench, and I don't know, it just kind of became our little mascot.
And then on the way to nationals, we all got little goodie bags and we all got a little pickle.
Does it have a name?
Ollie.
Ollie's a pickle.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming and talking about your journey, IWU volleyball, and all the success you guys have on and off the court. Thank you, Wildcat Nation, for tuning in to Season 6, Episode 1. Be sure to come back next week as we spotlight the number 6 national ranked football team. I'm Abby Harvey here with Isaac Wolf and guest hosts from the volleyball team, Cadee and Marissa Mullins, here on Wildcat Week, presented by Amplify Media.